I've always believed that a morning without coffee is like a computer without the internet. It works, but it's of little use. I live in a quiet area in the southeast of the city. I work remotely. I write code for a startup company that develops an application for managing a family budget. Life is calm, measured, almost like in a simulator. Every day began the same way: a shower, a quick breakfast, sneakers on my feet, and to the coffee shop on the corner. Rob's Beans, that was the name of this small paradise with the smell of freshly ground beans and the sounds of a hissing steam pipe. I met it right after moving, then it looked like just another dot on a Google map. A small room, brick walls, wooden tables, light bulbs on long cords and shelves with books that no one read. But there was some charm in it. And coffee, such that Starbucks could just give up and go into the shadows. The owner, Rob, was a man in his 40s, wore a fedora, often quoted movies, and always knew what everyone was going to order before they opened their mouths. "Oat latte, no sugar," he'd ask as soon as I walked in. I'd nod, smile, and take my favorite table by the window, take out my laptop, and open another project that needed to be finished by Friday. A few months passed like this. Rob was friendly, the barista, Emma, was talkative, and the coffee was consistently good. And everything would have stayed the same, if not for one morning in mid-October. I arrived a little later than usual. The coffee shop was empty. Emma was gone, only Rob was leaning his elbows on the counter, staring into space. Usually he perked up immediately when he saw familiar customers, but this time he just nodded. Without a smile. "Everything okay?" I asked, coming closer. He took a deep breath and shrugged. "Well, how can I tell you? The visitor counter showed 17 yesterday. For the whole day. The rent is going up. The suppliers are angry. I think I'll close up shop soon." He said it almost casually, but I felt something prick inside me. I don't know why. It seemed like it was just a place where I got coffee. But it became somehow uncomfortable. "Listen, have you tried promoting it online?" I asked. "My Instagram has been dead for 2 years, he chuckled. "And the website is a disgrace. I made it myself." I sat at the counter and thought. "Want me to help you with this?" Know a little about this. I can update your website, Google Maps, improve reviews, and minimal advertising. For fun. No payment." He raised an eyebrow. "Seriously?" I nodded. "Well, okay. That would be cool. But you can't expect miracles from it. People just don't go to places like they used to." "Maybe they will if they find out they exist," I shrugged. That's how my little help to a friend began. I had no idea that this morning with a latte would change my life. While I was poking around in their old site, it turned out that the hosting had already expired twice. Rob had forgotten his Instagram login, and the photos of the drinks were the size of a stamp. It all looked like the coffee shop existed not in 2023, but in 2009. I connected my hosting, started a new Instagram, asked Emma to take pictures of the drinks while she was making them. She turned out to be surprisingly creative. She took pictures from above, added captions, even came up with hashtags. We dropped a couple of stories, added a geotag, updated the description on Google Maps. By the end of the week, the number of orders via delivery had grown. A little, but steadily. People started leaving reviews, tagging the coffee shop in posts. Rob looked like a man who, for the first time in a long time, had hope poured into his morning coffee. "Are you sure you don't want to pay?" he asked a couple of days later. "Nah. They make me a latte for free every day," I waved it off. He nodded and added, "Well, if anything happens, know that I owe you." Then he added more quietly, "You're a good guy." And everything would have been fine if he hadn't shown up that same day. A client I hadn't seen before. Tall, in a black coat, with a short haircut and a sharp, almost unpleasant look. He came in, ordered a double espresso, sat down in the far corner and kept looking at us. No, he didn't just look. He studied us. Watched. The next day he came again. Sat in the same place. Ordered the same. Didn't take out his phone, didn't read, didn't talk. Just sat and watched. And that's when I first felt that something was wrong. But I didn't know yet how much. The next day I stared at the business card for a long time. A white triangle with no text, just a number. It looked like a challenge, like a riddle. Or like a trap. I put it next to the keyboard and tried to continue working, but my thoughts kept returning to the strange stranger and his words. You created risks for yourself, what did he mean? Risks of what? I didn't call. At first. But in the evening, already lying on the couch and mindlessly switching channels, I suddenly realized that I was reaching for the phone. I dialed the number. It buzzed for a long time. I was about to hang up when someone answered. A man. The voice was calm, confident, with a slight accent. You decided to call. That's good. It means you have questions. Who are you? I asked, surprised at how hoarse it sounded. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you did. You helped a small business, but you did it too well. So much so that someone got interested. Us. Us? We are the ones who monitor the digital landscape. And you have slightly upset the balance. I sighed. It is just a coffee shop. Not anymore. Now it is a point of attention. You have raised it from digital oblivion. And some people are not happy about it. Who exactly? I asked persistently. Do you want to meet and find out? Come tomorrow at 6 p.m. I will send you the address. And he hung up. A minute later, an SMS arrived with the address. Industrial area. An office building on the outskirts. No names. I should not have gone there. But I went. The office building looked abandoned. Gray concrete, broken windows on the upper floors, graffiti on the walls. Inside, silence, dust and the smell of damp. On the third floor, at the end of a corridor with a collapsed ceiling, there was a door. Metal, without identification marks. I knocked. A woman opened the door. She was medium height, wore glasses, and had her hair pulled back into a bun. She looked about 40, and was wearing a suit, as if she was just coming from a meeting. Come in, she said, gesturing inside. There were 4 people standing in the room. One of them was the guy from the coffee shop. The others were new to me, a tall bald man with a tablet, a girl in a sweatshirt with a triangle logo, and another guy, skinny, with a ring in his ear. Sit down, said the one I recognized first. We have a lot to talk about. I sat down. There were photos on the table in front of them. My face. Rob. Emma. Screenshots from the coffee shop's website. Instagram posts. My GitHub profile. Is this a joke? I asked. No, the bald man said calmly. We monitor digital feeds. You entered the zone of interest when you suddenly increased the activity of an object that had been a dead pixel for a long time. What is a dead pixel? It's a metaphor. Places on the network that no one touches. They exist, but they are dormant. As soon as new energy flows into them, attention, activity, algorithms, it can affect the entire landscape. I chuckled. Seriously? You called me out for this? The girl in the hoodie said. Your coffee shop is now the center of a small surge. We don't want this to get out of control. Sometimes such surges are followed by more serious things, mergers, acquisitions, political interests. You have no idea how much attention costs. And what do you want? For now, just talk. Make sure you don't work for someone else. That you didn't activate the point intentionally. I just fixed the site. I couldn't stand it. They exchanged glances. Then the guy with the ring in his ear said, We believe. But now you're in the system. And you can't just leave it. The woman in glasses handed me a tablet. There was an agreement. Something between an NDA, permission to monitor, and a contract for digital support. A legal mess from which I understood only that they wanted to know what I was doing with this point. And if I don't sign? Then we'll close Rob's beans. In the digital sense. Traffic, hosting, map, everything will disappear. People will forget. This is blackmail. This is balance, the man from the coffee shop said. I signed. Not because I was scared. But because I was curious. Too curious. And from that moment on, everything was just starting to spin. Rob didn't show up at the coffee shop on Friday. That was the first warning sign. At first I thought he'd just overslept. He often did that on Mondays. But it was Friday, the day we usually had the most traffic. I filled in for him. Opened the place, made the first orders. No messages. Rob's phone didn't answer. First, short beeps, then subscriber temporarily unavailable. Emma came in by herself around noon. Where's Rob? She asked, undressing and hanging up her jacket. I thought you were with him. She frowned. Yesterday he wrote that he wanted to discuss a new coffee. And he said he had a bad feeling. We exchanged glances. Maybe he went away? I suggested. On vacation? Without warning? That's not his style. Even when he was sick, he still sent 10 voicemails a day. I opened my work email. Nothing. My personal messages were empty. Everything was in place in the warehouse. The money in the register was as usual. No note, no hint. Just a feeling as if someone had erased him from our reality with an eraser. 2 days later, the person from that same chat called me. The phone found a connection again on its own, as if someone had deliberately broken through the channel. We warned you, the voice said. What's wrong with Rob? He crossed the line. He started digging in the wrong direction. And we can't allow anyone to go beyond the role. Is he alive? A pause. That's none of your concern. You have a different task now. Fuck you. I lost my temper for the first time in a long time. You're now responsible for the point. Without Rob, it's become yours. This isn't a business. This is an anchor. And you are its carrier. The signal disappeared. The next day, a man we hadn't seen before came into the coffee shop. A suit. Glasses. A briefcase. He didn't order coffee. He just walked up to the counter and put down his papers. This is a notice. Your trading license is in question. Violation of sanitary requirements and unregistered financial flows. Sorted out within a week. He left without saying goodbye. Emma and I watched him go in silence. Is this about Rob? She asked. I nodded. He knew something was coming. And now it's all on us. We tried to contact a lawyer, but it turned out Rob hadn't left a power of attorney. Everything was registered to him and me. Yes, that very moment when I signed the paper in the last chapter. Now I'm a co-owner. Which means I'm responsible. I started getting letters. Paper ones. Unmarked. Inside were photos, graphs, some tables with numbers and words like load per point, exceeded. Algorithm on the verge of rollback. Activate the mirror before the end of the month. What all this meant, I didn't know. But with each week I felt, surveillance became more intense. Cameras on the street seemed to turn to follow me. Videos about how the digital economy manipulates cities began to flash in the YouTube feed. Someone even made a story about Rob's beans, calling it an anonymous influence base. One night I saw him again. Rob. He was standing across the street, in a hoodie. Looking straight at the coffee shop. I jumped out, he was gone. The next morning there was a piece of paper on the door. Just one word. Do not dig. Do you want me to continue writing the 4th chapter? It will begin a real dive into the essence of the Watchers, revealing the secret role of the coffee shop and, perhaps, the return of Rob, but not in the role in which we knew him. The morning started with coffee and anxiety. Emma was still showing up for shifts, but we were both on autopilot. People were coming in, ordering, getting takeout lattes. No one knew this coffee shop had become something bigger. Or something much more dangerous. The emails kept coming. Another word, mirror, kept popping up. In notes, on printouts, even on receipts if you looked closely under UV light. Yes, I'd gotten that far. I went back to my laptop. But instead of the internet, I was greeted by a black screen with a triangle, the group's symbol. No cursor, no window, just text. Observer level 3. Load threshold, 83%. Mirror activation recommended by the 30th. Failure to do so will result in defragmentation of the point. What kind of mirror? I typed. The answer came instantly. Ask the people who came before you. If they're still online. I remembered one of the people I'd seen at that weird meeting in the peeling office, a skinny guy with a ring in his ear. He called himself Dan. I'd Googled 50 different Dawn around the area, to no avail. But then I got a letter. Not an email. A real inbox. You're looking for Dan? Meeting at location number 2. Tomorrow. 10 p.m. Don't pick up your phone. Leave no trace. The address was an old warehouse near the railroad. I drove there like an idiot. Alone. Without a phone. Just a notepad and a flashlight. Dan was there. Aged, with eyes that hadn't slept in a long time. He was standing by the rusty door, smoking. Well, hello there, Watcher, he said, grinning. How do you like the digital swamp? What's a mirror? He silently tossed me an old laptop. It had the Rob's Beans logo plastered on it, only distorted, as if in a mirror. A mirror is a copy. An alternate reality of a point. A smart model that can be kept in the shadows while the main point is under threat. It takes on traffic, behavior, even customers. But it is invisible. Why? Because when attacks, surveillance, mergers, or hacking begin, the real point needs to be transferred to the mirror. It's like evacuating a digital business. Only you don't transfer files, you transfer context. Get it? I shook my head. Not quite. Rob knew that? He tried to activate the mirror. Just not himself. Through a second hand. What second hand? Dan exhaled. It was you. You. Not on your own. You were part of the plan. He brought you in because you weren't in the system. You are clean. Or were. Now you're hardwired into the mirror. You are the mirror. It took me a few minutes to realize that. Rob didn't just find me. He created a loop in which I became part of a bypass system. Now I'm not just an observer. I'm a point through which to initiate recovery. This is why Rob disappeared. This is why they want me to continue. But I didn't break character. I didn't dig deeper. I didn't try to log out. You can either activate the mirror and save the coffee shop. Or you can let it disappear. And with it, yourself. Because without a point, you don't exist. How? You know how. Everything you've done has led to this. He gave me a flash drive. It wasn't just a website. It was a duplicate of Rob's Beans. A different logo. Different reviews. Different faces. But the layout was identical. Like the same coffee shop, but in a different world. When I uploaded the site to a hidden host, everything started to change. A stream of people we hadn't seen before started coming into the coffee shop. Tourists. People with cameras. One brought a drone. Everyone ordered the same drink, latte mirror, which we didn't have on the menu. They knew. They were coming there, through us. The site started to grow. The algorithms went crazy. Traffic from South Korea, Brazil, Sweden. Reviews started appearing even on sites I didn't know. But the main thing is that 2 days later I received an SMS. Good job. The mirror is stable. But you understand that now you're not just an observer. You're a carrier. And then the last letter arrived. No text. Just photos. Rob. In some hangar. Disheveled. Smiling. On the wall behind him, graffiti. Reality is what is not reflected.